Good day, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And you're probably wonder, who is this person? That doesn't look like Faby. Well, Faby is busy today, so I have big shoes to fill. She asked me to take over for her, so I want to thank you for joining us. This is Faby's 97th episode. Wow. So, okay. There we go. So that means that we're getting closer and closer to our 100th episode. Make sure that you sign up for that one. Don't miss out. There's going to be lots of prizes given out to viewers. So let's make sure that you're with us, okay? So don't leave us. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Again, thank you for joining us. Please share this video to your page so that Faby, your realtor of choice, is shared with everybody, okay? At the end of the show, we're going to have a drawing, as we always do, and you can participate by doing the following. Make comments, tell us where you are, where you're watching from, or ask any questions that you might have. Today, we have a great speaker. Many of you have already met her, but for those of you new viewers, this is attorney Lorena Salcedo, and she's going to be talking to us about power of attorney, a very important document that at some point in your life, you're probably going to need one. So, very excited to have her. Please give us hearts and likes, as many hearts as you possibly can, because that puts Faby's YouTube at a higher ranking. Excuse me. Okay, so Lorena Salcedo.
Hello.
Welcome, and thank you for being here again today.
Thank
so, for those new viewers that have not seen you before, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I am married. I have 3 beautiful daughters, very smart. They're smarter than their mom, thank God. And I have been a practicing attorney since 2010, and that was because at a late age I decided to go to law school. I was 39 years old, and I've been working in the legal field since 1988, so for a really long time, and I've really enjoyed it, and that's what motivated me to go into law school, and now I'm practicing in the area of estate planning.
And I have to tell you, she is absolutely fabulous. I can vouch for her. So,
Thank you.
Lorena, we have a few questions here for you.
Okay.
Viewers, if there's a question that we haven't asked or you have a specific question, please go ahead and send it to us, and we'll make sure that Lorena answers it, okay? So let's go ahead and get started with Lorena.
Yes.
What do you use a power of attorney for?
Okay, so it's a very important document because you can use it. For example, I have one for my mom, and as with many of the Latino parents, they don't know how to communicate in English. And so who is going to have the authority to call Medi-Cal, Medicare, Social Security, who's going to be able to handle their bank transactions? And so they won't authorize you unless you have a power of attorney to do that. So it's very important, especially now with the baby boomers becoming
Yes.
of age. And so it's a very important document to have. And a lot of people ignore the importance, and they also ignore that if they don't have that and their parent or significant other, whomever, becomes incapacitated, they're going to have to, they don't have a power of attorney, they're going to have to go to court to request a conservatorship. So it's used mainly to help people with their finances.
Finances, and can it be used also as a health directive?
No, that's a separate document.
It's a separate document.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good question.
Okay, but if you, let me ask you, if you have a power of attorney, like you said for your mom,
Right.
and your mom gets sick and you have to take her to the emergency room, typically, they will ask the actual patient what they need to have done or what they can do.
Right.
In this case, will the hospital accept the power of attorney?
No. Again, the power of attorney is for finances.
Finances only.
And
okay.
the advanced healthcare directive is for medical.
Okay.
So we need these two documents go hand in hand. They're very important because if they don't have the power of attorney for finances, they will have to go request the the conservatorship of the estate. If they don't
Okay.
have the advanced healthcare directive or power of attorney for healthcare, they're going to have to go to probate court to request a conservatorship of the person.
Okay.
So two separate.
So that's very
documents.
important because I thought that the power of attorney would be as a health directive for in case of an emergency. So that's really great to hear and to know. Okay. So what can you not do with a power of attorney? We just talked about we cannot use it as a health directive.
Exactly.
Anything else that we cannot use it for?
Not that I can think of. Most finances, and actually it can be stipulated or included in the power of attorney. Any type of transaction that the person would handle on their own can be handled by the agent, by the attorney, in fact, the agent for the power of attorney.
Okay. Does a power of attorney have to be filed with the court?
No, not anymore. It used to. It used to be required, and then now it doesn't. Now you don't. All you need to do is present a copy, and it doesn't have to be recorded.
Does it have to be notarized?
It has to be notarized. Yes.
Okay. Now, can two siblings have a power of attorney at the same time? And if they do, who takes priority? How would that work?
Okay, so it will depend because I have had this situation, and so I usually recommend that if they're going to name their children, to do it in an orderly manner. For example, this child in first place, this child in second. Because if they have to, they can add them as joint co-agents, but then they would have to decide unanimously. And so in order to avoid that, that's why I suggest 1 and 2. And sometimes they don't want the other child to feel left out, but I tell them they can always explain that that's what the attorney recommended. And priority. So it depends. If they say, okay, both children, either children can or they must act jointly. So if either of them can act independently or separately, then either of them can handle whatever transaction. But if they have to act jointly, and then they have to decide together and then sign together.
Okay, so this is very important, and that's why you need somebody like Lorena. And actually, Lorena actually helped me, and that's what she told me, because we were wondering, how do we do this with the kids, and how do we make them not feel bad? So we blame Lorena as our attorney, and she told us how to put them in order. But I have seen a lot of sibling rivalry and family issues because it is not indicated. So that's something super important. And I have to tell you that not all attorneys are going to do that. So great. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Now,
Great question.
how do you sign? If I'm a power attorney, how do I have to sign the documentation? My name, or how does it work?
So who are you signing for?
Let's say that I'm for John Smith.
Okay. So then you would sign John Smith and then by Karen Vargas, attorney in fact.
Wonderful. Okay, so everything, even if the line is very small, we have to make it fit.
Yes, squeeze it in, yes.
Okay, so for those of us who write big, we have to make sure that we write small and we make it fit in that line.
And
Okay.
if there's an escrow transaction, the escrow agent will also tell you, escrow officer will tell you exactly how they want you to sign
Great.
to.
Okay, before we go on, let me show you who is watching us.
Awesome.
So we have Jose Antonio Lira, thank you. David Gonzalez, Carolina Palafox, Edgar Aranda, Salvador Velázquez, María Luisa Sarriz. Hola María Luisa. Carolina Palafox, David Gonzalez, Tony Reyes. Hola Tony.
Hola, Tony.
Teresa Corpus, thank you for watching.
Hey, beautiful.
Merab Castañeda, Ana Hueso. Hola Ana. Salvador Rey Fregoso. So you see, you have a lot of viewers. So
Awesome.
yes, it's great.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go to the next question.
No questions thus far?
So far, I don't see any questions yet,
Okay.
but I'm sure we will.
Okay.
Okay. So, can a person, you said that we use it for finances, right?
Right,
So
right,
it's
right.
all of your money, your accounts, your bank, etc., right? So can the person that you give the power of attorney to, can they take your money?
Unfortunately, yes.
So we better make sure that we choose somebody that we trust.
Exactly. I always tell them to make sure that they are selecting the right person, somebody that they can trust. It's not as in with the trust where you can designate someone and then require a bond which protects your assets. Here, you don't. So you need to be very careful with whom you select as your attorney, in fact. So it is possible.
Okay, you guys, so make sure that you completely trust the person because, again, we have seen it, in sale of properties that all of a sudden that person is not liked anymore. And so, with that said, tell me, how do we revoke a power of attorney? Can it be revoked?
It definitely can. So this is a trick. So let's say that you were using it at a bank, and or let's say one of your daughters was using it at a bank for you, and you decide, you know what, I don't want you to do this for me anymore. I want to do my own transactions. So then you go to an attorney and say, I want to revoke my power of attorney, and then they'll prepare a form for you. So if you know that they're using it at certain institutions, you must go to that institution and show them the revocation, because they have no other way of knowing that it was revoked. So to avoid having them continue to use it, it's your responsibility to share that with those organizations.
Okay, that's something very important. I didn't know that. So you have the burden of proof of going
Yes.
around and making sure that they know that it's revoked.
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting.
Because there's no other way for them to know that you did unless they see the actual document.
Because there's no public record.
Exactly.
Because you don't have to file it.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. How many power of attorneys? How many types of power of attorneys if there's more than one?
Okay, so, there's 4, but I would say there's really 3, but that you could make into the 4th. But so there is what is called a limited power, and that could be for a specific transaction for a specific period of time. And you could say, it's from now to the end of the week or whatever, and then it ends. That authority ends that day, and
that is stated in the actual power of attorney. So in that case, we don't have to go around and prove that they don't have the power of attorney anymore.
Exactly. Let's say they just wanted to be able to sell a house or buy a house.
Okay.
Then they would just say this authority is only for the purchase or sale, blah blah blah, and it ends on this day.
So let's make sure that we remember that. That's called a limited power of attorney. Okay. You want to make sure that you don't just open the floodgates and give your whole life to somebody. Okay, so what is, I know there's one that is called the general power of attorney.
The general power of attorney. So basically it's what we were talking about earlier, where someone needs somebody else to help them with their finances. And so they prepare a general power of attorney, and they can help them with any type of transaction that you would be able to do. Or, if I get somebody to, if I have a general power of attorney, for my daughter is my attorney, in fact, she can do basically anything that I can. But that power of attorney is only valid while you are alive and you're capacitated. So if you're incapacitated, then it's no longer valid. If you pass on, it's no longer valid.
Okay, so that was one of the questions that I had. What happens if the person that gave you the power of attorney passes away? Then it automatically ceases.
Yes. Exactly. Okay. And with any other power of attorney as well, because it ends with when the person passes on. But some reason, somebody told me, can I use a power to prove this? And I said, well, you can show it to them. They may or may not. I know that sometimes funeral homes accept them when they want to make arrangements. And so it all depends on the organization, I guess, if they want to accept them or not.
So how would you handle, Lorena? I mean, how would we handle let's say that the person who gave you the power of attorney passes away. So technically speaking, the power of attorney is no longer valid, right?
Right.
However, what if that person still goes to the bank and gets the money out of their account? The bank doesn't know that that person is deceased yet.
Right, but when they, if and when they do find out, and that would be fraud.
Okay,
for
so
them.
they go
Yes.
after.
Yes.
Okay.
They can't do that even unless they're a joint in the account they are joint holders or whatever you.
So don't get any ideas, okay? You
So,
can't.
Yes, exactly. Don't believe me. It does happen, unfortunately.
Yes, that's why I was asking, because I know of
Yes.
situations like that.
But it's not. It would be fraud to do that.
Okay. So you said there's no really records of any power of attorney.
No.
It's just individual and cross your fingers.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
Okay, cross your fingers, okay? Okay, so we have one question.
Yes.
Can I sell my neighbor's house?
If she has a
Power of attorney.
power of attorney, yes. It has to be included as one of the powers to purchase and sell real estate. And there's what I had you sign for your estate plan is what is called a statutory power of attorney, and that power of attorney was established by the state of California, and that one has specific types of transactions that you can enter into, and real estate is one of them, and or in the general also include real estate transactions, and make sure that it's there. Otherwise, they won't, especially escrow and title, they're very picky about that stuff. So you want to make sure that you clear it with them before you start any type of transaction.
Okay, let me just see if there's any other questions so far. But I think that's the only one, right, Vito?
Okay.
Okay, so please, this is really a cool topic. So ask as many questions as you possibly can, because it's an important one. Can a power of attorney override a will?
No, they're two separate documents. Sometimes in the power of attorney, depending on the power of attorney, it will give the attorney in fact authority to amend trusts and wills. And so depending on the power, they may be able to make modifications, but it shouldn't override. They're two different documents for two different purposes. But do you want me to go back to the 4 powers?
Please.
Okay, sorry about that. So we talked about the general, and then the next one is the durable, which is usually what I use, specifically the statutory power of attorney. The durable power of attorney can continue, is still effective even though the person becomes incapacitated. And this is the type of power of attorney that I recommend, because that's the most important and most critical issue is incapacity. And you want somebody to be able to handle your affairs when you no longer can't. So the springing just means that it doesn't spring into effect until you have been incapacitated. So if you don't feel comfortable having somebody handle your transactions for you yet, and you want to continue to handle them, that's fine. Then just get a springing power, and that person won't be able to do anything on your behalf until you have been declared incapacitated by a doctor.
And it has to be in writing by a doctor,
Exactly.
correct?
It has to be a declaration by a doctor stating that you can no longer handle any of your affairs. And then also incapacity, it could be, because of age, it could be because of, an illness. It could be because of you're under medication.
Yes.
It could be because you're a drug addict, who knows, and or other substances. And, a lot of people nowadays are getting Alzheimer's, dementia. And so it's very important to plan for that.
Yeah, it really is. We have another question here. Luz de Villaluna is asking, can you please explain the difference between the revocable and irrevocable trust for her contacts.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So the revocable is the most common and most used revocable trust because you can go ahead and make changes anytime you want. And it's very important because it gives you the flexibility because what if you want to disinherit one of your children because they've been bad or they don't call you, whatever,
things
right?
Change. Things
Yeah,
change in life,
exactly.
unfortunately, yes.
And they turn bad and so you're like, I don't want to leave anything to this one. So it's important to have that flexibility and that's why we mainly use revocable. Irrevocable are very rare and I've only seen it in one occasion, and that's usually for the protection of the beneficiaries. In this occasion, it was a court mandating that an irrevocable trust be established for the children. And because in that way, the parents couldn't make any changes and take those assets away from the child or the children. So in that case, it's, it's very important to do that. You want to protect, make sure, because you don't want the parents deciding, oh, even though it's his house, I want to sell it, and especially if the court already gave an order. So that's like the only occasion that I've seen an irrevocable trust. A lot of times people want to protect their assets and they think that the only way of doing it is putting an irrevocable trust. And, if you are sure, positive, 100% positive you're not going to make any changes, then you go ahead and do that. And a lot of people ask me if a trust will protect them against litigation, and I tell them no, it only protects against probate. But, if they do want to protect against litigation, probably an irrevocable trust will be able to protect them. I usually recommend that they get umbrella insurance instead of a trust because it's not going to protect their assets. But if they have it in an irrevocable trust, then nobody can touch it once they've established it.
So can one power of attorney, so you said something really important right now. I think that a lot of people will relate to this. And that is, how to protect the kids.
Right.
So can you have the power of attorney being both? A portion of it, for instance, irrevocable for the kids. Let's say that there's one of the spouses, mom or dad, passes away. And the other one remarries. And you want to make sure that whatever it is that you worked for and property and everything goes to the kids and not to the new wife or the new husband's kids. So how can you do that?
Okay, so we're talking about a trust, and it's very common, and I get this maybe I would say 20% of the time. And what happens is that what Godin said, when a spouse says, well, I work so hard, it's not fair that, if something happens to me and she remarries or if we get divorced, whatever, that they're like, if they pass and she remarries, that the other person is going to get everything. So what is very common and I do all the time is that when one of them passes, then their 50% share will go to the children. And then so that the other spouse, the surviving spouse, is protected, then I also give the surviving spouse the right to live on that property the rest of his or her life. In this time we're talking about a female.
But that's part of a trust. It has nothing to do with a power of attorney, correct?
The power of attorney, you cannot do that. No.
Okay. Got it. So here we have more questions here. So here's one that Faby is sending us, which I had it too. So can an illegal resident who owned a house and was deported give someone a power of attorney to sell their property?
Okay, so this gets tricky because a person cannot sign here, and it would have to be notarized. So the only way I could see that happening is if somebody prepares a document here, and then they go to the consulate to have it signed and notarized there, and then
bring it back.
Yeah, and then they can go ahead and proceed with the transaction.
Okay, but it has to be notarized by an American entity.
Exactly.
Okay, another Faby question is, it's just that she couldn't really hear it. It was too low. Okay, Faby, I hope you can hear us a little bit better now, because we are talking loud. No, I think the iPad was in front of it.
Okay.
So, okay, let's see. If if you have the power of attorney and you have already done some transactions or signed documentation for that person, and then all of a sudden you say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore because it's too much responsibility. Is there an issue with him or her having done certain transactions and then having another person take over?
So you're the attorney in fact, and you say, I don't know,
No more.
longer want to, okay.
No more.
So no, again, we can just revoke. So it depends. If there's another person in line after you, then you can say, I don't want to do this, and then you submit your resignation, and then the next person in line will step up. But if there's no one else, then they're going to have to revoke that power and do a new one.
Okay. Now, let's say that we're in a real estate transaction, okay, and for whatever reason, I have to leave the country, not planned, and in the middle of the transaction, I say, I gotta go. How fast can I get a power of attorney?
It depends on the attorney. Depends on their caseload. I usually, especially if it's something urgent, and for example, for me, God forbid somebody's in hospital bed and they need something, then I try to get there as soon as I can. In that case, I usually try to squeeze them in, but it depends on the individual attorney whether they'll have time to do something right away.
Okay, so now we just heard another reason why we would want to use Lorena, because she will run wherever you need her to, so that you get that power of attorney fast. Okay, let's see. Okay, so let me share with you some of the comments. And it's, they're all happy. They say it's a very interesting question. The trust, the real estate transaction. Can you please explain borrowing from a living trust for our families? I'm assuming that it has nothing to do with a power of attorney, right?
No, but
Borrowing from a living trust.
I don't understand the question.
Luz de Bella Luna, if you could explain to us what exactly you mean, Lorena will be happy to respond. Okay, we have Marilyn Salamat watching too. We have Erika Gutierrez, Osiris Gonzalez, Jose Ramirez, Michaela McElwin, Daniel Dowd, Veronica Cabrera, Marta Martinez. You have a ton of people here very interested in this topic, power of attorney.
Awesome. That's
Evia
awesome.
Aranda.
Because it's so important. I always tell people it's very important to have a trust. But, I tell them, some people say, oh, well, I don't have more than $150,000 in assets, or my parents don't own a house. I said, okay, then you need, no question about it, you need a power of attorney and an advanced healthcare directive. That's all you need then. And it's important to get that. And it's painless, and it's quick, and it'll save you a lot of, like I said, a lot of headaches. And because, again, it avoids having to go to court to ask for this and paying thousands and thousands of dollars. A lot of times I get calls and say, oh, my mom is in failing health and I need a power of attorney. And my first question is she lucid? Does she have, dementia, things like that? Because obviously if they have dementia, I can't have them sign documents. And so sometimes they call a little too late, and unfortunately then they realize they have to go through the time and expense of conservatorship.
So, hearing Lorena explain all this, it really doesn't matter if we have a little or if we have a lot. We need to make sure that we are protected. And again, whether it's a little bit or a lot, make sure that it's not going to just disappear or go away, or it's going to have to go to probate and go through the whole process and end up with fights because of it. So important to have a power of attorney and a health directive, no matter what, right?
Right. And right now, for example, with my daughters, they still live with us, and they're already over 18. So I haven't done it, but I keep telling them, I'm going to have you guys sign over an advanced healthcare directive for me, because I'm the one calling still to make their appointments and calling to pay the bills and everything. And so once they're 18, then the doctors will want to talk to you. And sometimes they'll say, because they know me, like, okay, well, I'll make the appointment, but anything else she has to call. So if you want to be able to help them with that stuff too, it's important to have it for your kids. And I think for any age, it's important. Once they're married, then they'll want to have their spouses in the advanced healthcare directive. But while they're still living with you, it's important to also have them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Luz de Bella Luna says, I was married to a trust fund kid. They occasionally borrowed from their widow mama's living trust.
Oh, okay. So what happens is that the trust is different from a will. The will, you have to wait until you pass away to go through all the instructions and distributions and all that. The living trust, the moment you sign, you can start making distributions. Especially that's a great instrument for people who are millionaires and they want to have a little bit of control. And so yes, let's say that they weren't due for a distribution until they were 30 and they're 25. It's up to the trustee, the successor, or the trustee or the successor trustee to make that distribution and or to make that loan.
Yeah.
But yeah,
okay.
they can do that.
Okay, so Luz, I hope that this answers your question. As a matter of fact, Luz de Bella Luna says, yes, avoid probate. Call attorney Lorena Salcedo. Okay, I don't see any more questions. Faby says, ask her about the deported person. We already talked about that and what they need to do. Luz de Bella Luna also says, irrevocable for removing estate from an elder parent assets.
What was that?
On the trust. Would it be irrevocable for removing estate from an elder parent's assets?
Okay,
Luz,
I understand it.
help us understand. I'm assuming that she's asking the type of trust that they should have in order to protect the elder parents' assets and that nobody can just take them away.
Okay, yeah. Then I would say the irrevocable.
Irrevocable, okay? But that's separate from the power of attorney. Great. Okay, well, I think that we are done with the questions. But you know that your favorite realtor, Faby Gonzalez, always has a drawing at the end. So let's do that, okay? So we do now. There we go. Ooh. Okay, Lorena?
Me?
Yes. Pick one out first. And what is it that we have for this, Vito? What is it?
Gift card from Starbucks.
Oh, a Starbucks gift card.
Let me see who my next buddy is. Ana Hueso.
Ana Hueso. Felicidades. Wonderful.
Text me. When are we going for coffee?
Okay. And the next one is?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Okay.
Starbucks. We all love Starbucks, don't we?
Yes. And the teas, too. They're so good. Tony Reyes. Woo!
Woo, Tony.
Tony, better text me.
Great. No more questions coming in. So, let me see. Please register on Faby's website so that you can receive their newsletter and notifications of our new listings and events. Now, we have a video. Do we have a video? No video today for a listing or anything? No? Okay. So what you have is our thank yous for watching us. Lorena, super thank you for being here. You are awesome.
Thank you.
And again, as I told you guys, I experienced it myself. And Lorena was amazing because I was going on vacation. And as we typically do, we left it for the very last minute. And I said, well, you know, we'll have to go on vacation without having a trust. And she said, no, you're not leaving without it. And she had it done in 24 hours and delivered it to one of my daughters while I was on vacation. So you're not going to find anybody like Lorena.
Oh,
so thank you. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for watching, everybody.
Thanks.
And don't forget, this was episode 97, which means that 3 more weeks and we have the 100th episode where Faby is going to be giving out lots of prizes. You want to be part of it, okay? See you next week. Thank you for watching.
Bye. Thank you.
Ya, ¿verdad?